Well, hello and welcome. And my thing is obviously not working already. Hang on. Why you no work? Closed captioning. Come on, Caption Ninja. Go! Success. Alright. Well, welcome to... technically this is the second episode, but the first episode of Solo Sagas was so long ago. We're going to call this the premiere. And we're going to play some Vagabond for this and probably at least a few more episodes. I feel like I need to preface that this system, first of all, is not a solo system, but it has some solo rules, or rather, a very short solo guideline. When I decided to use this, I thought there would be more guidelines for doing it solo. However, as we go along, you'll see it kind of lends itself to solo play in general, or at least GM-less play. Having a guide helps, so that GM could be more of a guide rather than, which is kind of what I think they should be anyway, but the GM really doesn't roll a bunch of dice. I think the GM rolls dice for some damage, and that's it. All of the combat and various dice used to figure out if something happens are all rolled by the player. So, as a solo game, it just kind of takes that step and removes it from the GM, places it in the player's hands, and then essentially the guidance in the game is to add NPCs if you think it's going to be too hard for your character. That's really boiling it down, but that's kind of what it is. Caption Ninja is being all sorts of cranky. What can I say? All right, well, let's talk and delve into some Vagabond. So Vagabond is by Land of the Blind, which is in Destructiboy's imprint. It wouldn't be an AP stream without some derps. You were absolutely correct. Including me not being able to hit the S key when typing in here. You can check out Vagabond on DriveThruRPG right now. You can order the PDF, and the print files, last time I checked, were being updated, and so someday soon a print copy will be available. It won't let you reply to certain chats. That's weird, Stacy. Oh, are you on mobile? Oh, Twitch mobile is being poopy tonight. What is it with all of the things being poopy? So yeah, head over and check that out. It is a really cool game. I think it's gonna find its audience for sure, and those people who enjoy fast combat and kind of gritty combat are gonna enjoy it. People who are really into a lot of rules and maybe more crunch are maybe not going to be as big of fans about it. What's neat is that it is built to use older D&D modules, so it suggests like the BX or the basic expert stuff, but the trying to remember what it is, BEMC and second edition, advanced second edition and stuff. I can see that they're not going to take a lot of effort. It just decided to stop working again. All right, let's see if I can get this fixed before we move on. I just don't want it not captioning. Hold, please. All right, how about now? Seems to be working. We'll continue on. Okay, so to set up for this, I did make a group of characters that will join my main character. Essentially, they're going to be NPCs, and the framework of this story is going to be told from my character's perspective, and will kind of be omni first person, as opposed to knowing what those other characters are thinking. We'll just kind of go with more of how they're acting, looking, the various things that they do, but not so much delving into their thought processes and their histories and stuff, other than what they tell my character or each other within my character's hearing. So with that being said, we are going to open up a character sheet. Oh, look, I just have one handy. How nice is that? And we're going to roll for some things here, because everything can be, technically you can choose what you want to be, but everything can be rolled. And so let's start with our ancestry. So we're going to roll a d6 here. Usually it's a d8, but because of my character's background, I'm going to actually remove a couple of the species that are playable, because I don't... how do I want to say this? I don't want to explain why they are coming from where they don't exist. Ha 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 ha. Alright, so let me see here. Where? And if you look on your screen, look at that. A magic d6 has appeared. Alright, I am pretty sure the d6 is goblin. Let me double check in our PDF here. One, two, three, four, five, six. Goblin. It sure is. This will be interesting because one of the other characters is also a goblin, but from a different world. So goblins are cryptids, according to this system. And now we're going to roll for a class. So we need to roll 2 d6s and take them separately. So the first d6 will be our tens space, and the last d6 will be our single numerical up to 6. So we can have up to 66 as our value. Our first one is a 3 and a 3, so 33. "33 is the hunter." That's perfect. That couldn't have been set up any better for what I want to do with this character. Going to be medium. And let's see, we're going to do this the easy way. FantasyNameGenerators.com. And the universe said, "This is the channel of goblins," and gave us another one. It's so true. It is so true. Let's see, head into fantasy and folklore. Goblin names. Reevnolb. He goes by Reev. Alright, and then I'm going to roll to see how bad my stats are going to end up being. So I need to roll a d12 here. 11. Not the best, but not terrible. No, that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. A bunch of 2s. I've got 1 7, which is great. It's the highest you can get. 2 5s, also not bad, but 3 2s is pretty bad. That's pretty on par. So let's see what I'm just gonna make a note here. 7 5 5 2 2 2 are our numbers, and then I'm gonna go back to the rules here and go down to Hunter to see what we're kind of aiming for. Key stat is awareness. Can do melee and ranged, so let's just look at the sheet here for understanding. Dexterity is your ranged, might is your melee, but awareness, I believe, can also be used for ranged attacks. Let me double check that. Awareness is used for reflex detect, mysticism, survival checks, and ranged attacks. Excellent. Okay. Well, in that case, we're going to put 7 in awareness. Where do I want those 5s? All right, I'm putting a 5 in might because might is where your hit points come from. I don't want my fellow dying right away. Dex actually has nothing to do with, well, okay, let me rephrase that. So your armor class or your armor has nothing to do with whether you get hit or not in this game. Everything you do is dodging or blocking. And I might not be remembering the words there correctly, but yeah, so you do a reflex to get out of the way or an endure to essentially like block it. But each of those, so reflexes, if you were being shot at, you have essentially what's disadvantage. And if you're enduring it, then you are doing the, I still have the Hawthorne effect post bot on. That silly bot. Thanks for letting me know. I'll take care of that in just a moment here. Endure, you have your disadvantage if it is a melee attack, I think. Now, disadvantage does not work the same way as D&D does, where you were seeing, where you're rolling 2 dice. It's actually a, you roll a d6 and take it away from your total. So you don't technically have the chance to like kind of, you can really bolster your rolls if you have advantage and you're getting a d6 and, you know, but there's always that chance when you're rolling with a d20 twice that you're going to hit that crit. All right, there should be no more Hawthorne effect posts showing up. If you see anything, let me know. Thanks there. All right, so we need a 5. I'm going to put the other 5 somewhere else because this awareness makes my reflex already at a 9. So we'll get into what you have to roll later, but the lower your numbers here, the better. So like these 18s, terrible, terrible. This 11 for my reflex, not too shabby, better than average, or a little bit higher than average, but not too bad. But I feel like putting all the 2s in my brain and my luck are bad. So let's do let's look at what these mean, and then we can kind of go from there. All right, so might. Used for max HP, inventory slots, endurance or endure saves, and brawl and melee checks. The weaker you are, the less you can carry. Makes sense. And let's see. Dexterity determines speed, so the lower your dex, the slower you are. Your slowest is 25, whereas your fastest, according to your speed or according to your dex, is 35. Classes such as the pugilist, you can move faster. So there is a character you will meet along the way that has a base speed of 40, which is pretty awesome. Let me see. Awareness was our next one. It's used for reflex, detect, mysticism, and survival checks, and ranged attacks. Whereas reason is used for will, arcana, craft, and medicine checks. So no saves, no attacks on that one. Presence is used for will, influence, leadership, and performance checks. And then luck allows you to tip the scales of fate. So it builds your luck pool, which you can grant yourself advantage or a fluke. Favor is what advantage is called. I kind of want to have luck be higher, but as a hunter, I also feel like that awareness needs to be... Oh, that's the one I have the 7 in. That's great. I love it. Luck is a 5. So we've got our 7, our 5, another 5, and 3 horrible 2s. Perfect. All right. Thanks to this handy dandy sheet, everything auto updates. I am going to go ahead and clear off our dice rolls now that that part is done. And let's see. Now we need to go back to Hunter because I need to see what our starting. You can start with gold, or you can start with a starting pack, which also has gold. So you're never like just broke when you start. So let's go back to Hunter. Doop. And our starting pack is Scout or Warrior. I'm gonna make a note of that so I don't forget. And then we're gonna go down to starting packs. Scout gives us a longbow, a quiver, light armor, and a compass, as well as 1 gold and 25 silver. And there's a currency exchange that's different than D&D, and I cannot get my head to wrap around it because I'm like, why do you have 25 silver? Just make that 2 gold. Because that's not how it works. I think it's 100 silver is a gold. But don't quote me on that because I could be wrong. And then the warrior gets a great axe, a javelin, and light armor, 2 javelins. I feel like my fellow is more of the longbow, quiver, light armor, and compass kind of fellow. So let's put all that information in here. Longbow, quiver, light armor, and compass. And then it's left over with 1 gold, 25 silver. All right, now each of these things costs something in your inventory. They weigh a certain amount, and that certain amount is not put in as a poundage. It is just quantified as a number. 1 through 3, I believe. I don't think there's anything above 3. At least I haven't seen anything. And then we're going to put longbow down here. I already know that longbow is 2 hands. Also, I need to mark off. Well, since I'm down here, let's start with this. We've got some light armor. Light armor consists of either leather, hide, or padded. I think for this guy's flavor, he's going to have some hide armor. It doesn't change anything as far as the sheet goes. It's just, what am I going to make my mini look like later? And light armor has a rating of 1, takes 2 slots, and you need to have a might of 3 to be able to wear it. So let's just double check. I have a might of 5, I can wear it. It's a rating of 1, and use so it gives me 1 for the armor. And counts as 2 slots. So now, if you notice here, and I know it's kind of small on the screen, I apologize. I have 13 max slots, which is 8, which is kind of your base, plus your might. My might is 5, so that's 13. I've currently used 2 slots with my armor. Let's look at the quiver, or sorry, the longbow. So it is going to be 2 slots. And we'll go ahead and fill in this part here. The damage is a D8. It is keen and ranged. So D8, and its properties are keen and ranged. All right, now we need to find the quiver and the compass. There's a whole bunch of tables here that kind of go through different things rather than having it be in a like one table that just lists everything. They're all broken down. We've got clothing, hygiene, and textiles. We have containers and packs. We have books and magic, cooking and food, games and toys, gems, jewelry, and smithing, hardware, liquor and spirits, musical, outdoors, which is where... Nope, I guess not. I was going to say, I thought that's where my compass was. Tools, trade goods, personal items. All right, so because I was reading that off, I did not find where my item is. While I'm looking, I just want to thank everybody for joining me today. I appreciate it. I'm super excited to play this, and I feel like I should give like a little bit of background why I decided to start with this instead of a truly solo game. Playing this game just makes me feel very much like I did when I was 8 years old and couldn't find enough people to play with, and so I just made up a bunch of characters and GM'd my own games. And yes, that sounds weird, but you know what? I had a blast. All right, I'm going to search for it because I don't know where it is. Interesting. I could have sworn it was on here. I'll look at the other character sheet that has a quiver later and update this. Let's look for compass. Counts as 1 slot. I am pretty sure the quiver is also one. I'm going to put down one and we can update it later. Sounds more sad than anything. Poor kiddo Jeremy. So here's the funny thing. I'm gonna go back to this screen so you can see it. This was my first D&D book. It's the monster manual. And the funny thing about this book is it has a bunch of monsters in it and no actual guidance on how to play the game. A friend of mine gave it to me. His brother, I think, had given it to him, and we were in elementary school at this point. His brother was either in junior high or high school by this point. I think his brother decided he didn't want to play anymore and had given him that book. And I'm not sure if they gave him the player's handbook or what. Anyway, it's the only one he had left, and we didn't really know how to play. And so we would just kind of sit around and make things up according to what was in this book. Well, then down the road, I ended up buying the blue box, like the blue and red boxes, and everything through basic through Immortal. I got Advanced D&D, second edition, all of those things, all of that you see behind you, D&D, Pathfinder, all of the things. But this was in the mid 80s. There wasn't a lot of kids in my area playing D&D. And so I lived in my imagination most of the time. A lot of the time I still do. And so I don't, it never really bothered me to do this stuff on my own. Like nowadays I'm like, wow, I wish I had more people to play with. But I think that's kind of why I'm doing this show, because there are so many options for some really great role playing and storytelling that you can do with yourself. So yeah. Anyway, back to it. All right, let's go back to Hunter. Let me make sure here. So I have 5 luck because of my luck here. You essentially have 1 luck point for each luck that you have in your stats. Your hit points are your level times your might. So 1 currently times 5. Oh, I need to double check. I'm pretty sure I am trained in both melee and ranged. So let's go check Hunter real quick. Melee and ranged, and I need to do skills as well. So we've got survival and then 4 others. So we've got melee, we've got ranged, we've got survival, and then did it say 5? Oh, 4 others. 4 is still pretty good. I feel like detect as a hunter is going to be good. That's your perception. Finesse is physical coordination and talent. I feel like that's probably going to be a good one to have. I can see Arcana and Brawl is like forcing something open like a door, and it is also like hitting somebody with your fists. So most character classes don't have Brawl as a skill that they use for combat. You can, you're just maybe not trained in it. Whereas like the pugilist can hit things real hard. And then 2 more. So I'm feeling like sneak might not be a bad one. And I think I'm going to go with medicine. Kind of on the fence between medicine and mysticism, but I'm going to go with medicine. Okay. So Reevnolb here has his class, has his ancestry. All of his stats are filled out. We've got all of our skills. I am going to buy a melee weapon since I don't start with one. So let's go over to melee weapons. And I don't have a whole bunch of money, but A lot of things, you know, we're under the gold in a lot of this. There's some things here like the great axe, the great shield, a lance, a pike, the rifle, shotguns. These things are over a gold, so I can't afford any of them anyway, but because I am going with since I went with awareness, but it counts as finesse. It's kind of, that is kind of weird. So I guess actually no, that makes sense. So there are melee finesse weapons, and then ranged is a separate thing. That makes sense. And some things like here, the short bow is finesse, keen, and ranged. So it can be used by either your finesse or your awareness. Sorry, your dexterity essentially affects your finesse. I'm not sure if I want to do a long sword because it does a D8. So there's a chance for a little bit more damage, but only 2. Yeah, let's do, he's going to do short swords. Since they're 20 silver, I'm going to buy 2. They each take 1 slot. Do a D6, so we'll do short sword. Oh, canceling Vason tonight. I'm so sorry. I hope everything is okay. Finesse and keen. So I do not have a great chance of hitting with this. I am better at using my longbow. By quite a lot. Essentially on a D20, I need to roll under, or I need to roll over a 6 to hit something with the ranged, or over a 16 to hit it with my short sword. So that's a huge difference. Maybe I should do a melee weapon instead. Like, or can, you know, I'm going to check this out because I am not 100% sure whether finesse can be used. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to go with it makes sense that the short sword can be melee instead of finesse. I think it's built for, short swords are built for people to choose. So if you are a warrior, you're going to use might. If you're a rogue, you're going to use your finesse. I am glad that you don't have to lurk for part of the stream at least, but it also removes one option for me to raid out to. Now I'm pretty sure we'll be raiding over later to Guild Superior. I was going to roll randomly at the end to decide who to raid to, but Bleak made the choice for me. I do hope everything is okay over there on Folk and Myth, and looking forward to next week and checking out the Vason stream. Alright, so since I'm buying 2 of those, I need to take off 40 silver. So we're going to call that there we go. So we've gotten rid of our gold to pay for it. We have 85 silver left. And we have short swords. Each are worth 1 slot. I got 2. So they take up 2 slots total. So I have occupied 8 of my 13 slots so far. Due to some pre-planning on how this is going to go, I am also going to purchase some goods. So let's go down to containers. We're going to get a backpack. Oh, that's neat. The capacity adds 2 slots. That isn't based on your might. Good to know. If you're carrying the backpack, it counts as 1. If you're wearing the backpack, it counts as 0. Interesting. All right, we're getting a backpack. And we get a bonus 2 slots for that. So that's good to know. Thanks for lurking, Stacy. I appreciate it. I hope your routine goes well. Hello, Ty. Salut to you as well. Thanks for joining. What are we working on? We are prepping to dive into a game of Vagabond. There's a thing I forgot to open for just this situation. That's not what it was. Where did my art go? There we go. This game here, Vagabond, which is designed by Indestructiboy, and he has his imprint, Land of the Blind. If you head over to drive-through at the link I'm about to throw up on the screen in your chat, you can check it out. It is a pulp fantasy role-playing game according to the designer. However, it leans kind of into OSR without maybe some of the potentially OSR squickiness. I don't know how else to say that. That some people enjoy. The bot is throwing it up. And we're currently making my main character. It is technically a soloable game. Yeah, old new school revival. Yes. It was created during the whole OGL debacle when everyone was just like, screw these guys, I'm going to go make my own thing. I didn't end up backing it because I was backing other people's stuff, and I just kind of had to choose. But recently, a friend of mine was like, have you checked out this game? And I'm like, why does that sound familiar? And then I went and looked at it and I'm like, oh yeah, I almost backed this. And I'm glad I was able to pick it up since then, because it should be fun. So many games, so many choices. Exactly. There's also this game, Nuavarden, that I really want to check out. You might know the guy who made that one. I need a womp womp sound. What's that? I don't know. It's this really pretty book. It's on my shelf. Oh. Completely unrelated to today's game, but a very cool book nonetheless. I do recommend people go check it out. Okay. Got my weapons. That's right. We are getting food, because food is going to be important. However, my guy's going to be, he's just kind of traveling through some harsh wetland. So let's do, he's going to do 7 days of rations. No, we're going to do 5 days. And I know that there is a rule for this. They count as 0 slots unless there are so many of them. However, I don't believe 5 counts that, so I'm not going to look it up right at the moment. I do want... He's got some rations. He needs a fire starter. I'm not sure if it's called a tinderbox on here. Excuse me. And probably some torches. Actually, no. He is a goblin. He doesn't like torches. He can see in the dark. And we can let that all play out how it will down the road. So many options here. Do. Oh, if I had the gold, I would absolutely get the collapsible 10-foot pole. Absolutely. Raven says, does the pugilist have shoes? Because you can get hookworm and other parasites when walking barefoot in swamp or wetlands. I feel like this is something that someone's going to have to tell this pugilist. And we'll see when we get there, when we meet her. Tools. I'm going to get some cook. Ooh, 50 gold. Sorry, 50 silver. That's a lot. With my... I do have enough. But... let's get the tinderbox. For lighting fires. And we'll just burn things that we find. Tinderbox counts as a slot. Any game that has a 10-foot pole is OSR in some level. You are absolutely correct. And giving you ideas for design ideas for New Overden, excellent. I love it when games share ideas. That's a beautiful thing. Hello, Guild Superior. Welcome. Good to see you, Dave. How you doing? Let's do a quick shout out. Or Guild Superior. Make sure you tune in tonight as they do the next episode of their House of Eidolons game, which we will actually be raiding into after this, since there is no option to roll between for someone else. Something or other in Swamp Muck. Parasites. All right. I think we've got his inventory. We still need to throw abilities on here, and then we should be good to go. So let's head up to Goblin first. Goblin. We're just going to copy this on over. And I'll fix all of that here in a moment after we put his hunter stuff in there. At level 1, we get Hunter's Mark. Which is different than Maker's Mark. I could use some Maker's Mark right now. If you know, you know. And Survivalist, which will give a perk, so we'll also have to add that. Add foot perk on page 70. There is no page number 70 on this document because I meant to go to this document instead. Add foot. Once per day, you gain a studied die when you travel 6 miles or more. That's awesome. And I don't know what it means, but we will figure it out. Fix our formatting here. Ty, we're going to have you on the channel here soon to run some New Varden when you're not, I guess when you're done running it everywhere else and you've used up the entirety of the internet besides us, there will still be this corner that wait, what? Somehow I feel safe knowing you two won't be at GaryCon this year. Who? Me? What? Oh, you're talking about Malort. You're welcome for the shout out, Dave. Glad to do so. Okay, so I don't know what Newfoundland Screech is, Raven. I'm not sure I want to know. I feel like that's something I should Google, but I don't want to. Oh, it's rum. I mean, that sounds better than Malort already, but there are some bad rums out there. I've had bad rum. There's nothing really worse than Malort. Oh, Malort. Okay. I am not a magic user. Don't need to do any of this. So perk is done. I don't need to get any other class things right now, being level 1. I got my ancestry stuff. I have my inventory. Jeez, I might be done. I got my name. What I don't have is a mini. I'm not going to make everyone deal with me making a mini while you all wait. We've got an hour left. We might as well dive into this game. So, apparently, this system, Vagabond, is somewhat backwards compatible with older D&D. So that includes mostly the basic expert stuff, or BX. But there's not a huge jump between BX and second edition to an extent. Not like there is, between BX and, say, 5th edition or 4th edition. So I'm going to try out a module called Night of the Walking Dead. Whoa. This module is based in Ravenloft. For those of you who have not played Ravenloft before, it is a demi-plane where people are drawn into it to face various horrific things. So to an extent, going to go ahead and throw up a disclaimer here, a little bit of content warning. This is going to contain maybe a little bit of light body horror, not a whole bunch, especially today. Undead, death of folks, not necessarily, hopefully not the characters themselves, but we'll find out. Also, I know there's some... No, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, that should pretty much cover it. I should also say that when AD&D came out and I was started getting heavily into playing both with the folks that I knew that played and all that, Ravenloft was just my jam. So getting to go back and play this again with this new system should be a ton of fun. I have actually played this one solo using second edition AD&D and with a few groups. This is a well-worn module that I have sitting here in person. Ooh. Look at that. But the interesting thing, AD&D was the only time you played Ravenloft. I actually have played 5th edition and 3rd edition Ravenloft as well. So as far as our fellow here goes, he is going to be from my world of Haven. And Ravenloft, doesn't matter where you're from, it'll find you. And if it wants you to face the horrors that lie within it, it'll reach out, snag you, and pull you in. And so currently, my guy, Reevnolb, or Reev for short, he is scouting. He's a scout for an expedition that is trying to find out what this powerful archdruid is doing. There is a ever-expanding fen swamp that was created by this druid and seems to be claiming more and more land as it creeps towards cities nearby. It is well known that this druid wants to see the downfall of civilization. Okay, Shadow Dark, we see you. I actually have a friend who is super into Shadow Dark. He is starting a Goblin Kickstarter here on the 16th, I believe. Super looking forward to that book coming out, and he's doing it for Zine Month, so there'll be printed versions of it and everything. Should be really cool. I want to see his take on this game as well. We haven't sat down with it yet, but I think a lot of the things he likes about Shadow Dark, Vagabond also scratches that itch, but I think a lot of it is just getting the chance to play it and find out rather than reading through. It might be that he's not into it at all. You never know. All right, so as Reev here trudges through the growing miasma of swampland, mosquitoes the size of his palm, because he's a little guy, flying around. Of course, these are very large mosquitoes still. He's not that little, but slapping mosquitoes, pulling leeches off every so often, moving his way through, his bow drawn, his fingers taut on the string as he's preparing to pull back the string, knocked an arrow in it, hears things around him. He's just trying to figure out where the center, essentially, of this fen has started. Where is the power that's causing it to spread? And he notices that a fog has started to build up off the surface of the water. The sun is going down. It's still a few hours till nighttime, but he notices that it's just getting darker and darker, and despite the fact that he can see in the dark, it's getting obscured. He can't see the trees as well. twisted pines that are like starting to slump over, their branches twisting and gnarled. Every so often he'll hear the croaking of frogs nearby, something slithering through the water. He keeps an eye out for that because he has stepped into a couple spots that he fell into, like kind of hip high. And as everything becomes more and more obscured, he notices things like things have changed in their smells. The sounds are a little further away, and he stops and he kind of looks around. Don't like this. Takes a few tentative steps forward. And the splashing noises that he makes kind of ripple through the air, echoing back to him. He stops again, looking around. That's not normal. I'm going to have him do the first roll of the game. So we're going to do a detect. So here I'm going to roll a d20. And what I want is to get above a 6. What I do need to check, because I'm not 100% sure if it's meet or beat, we're going to go with beat for now. Got a 12. Doubled what I needed. That's great. Reev stops and listens. He loosens the string on, or his string fingers on the bow, sticks his finger in his mouth. Wind change. Sniffs around. Slowly begins to move forward when he hears someone yelling up ahead. Did he wash his hands first? Not at all. He is not that kind of goblin. Wash his hands. There are goblins. There are a lot of goblins who do wash their hands in Haven. However, he's not one of those. He is in the Phantom Mohawk, yep. Or he was. As he stops and he hears somebody calling, he can't make out the words. It's distant and kind of reverberates through the fog. And the fog just continues to press in against him to the point where he kind of starts to breathe a little too quickly, maybe starting to hyperventilate as this pressure begins to build. Then it lightens up, it lessens, but everything seems darker, like pretty quickly, almost like the sun has set. And he looks around, he's trying to see any signs of the glowing orbs too. There's 2 suns in Haven that should be over there on the horizon still, at least through the trees or something. And he doesn't see anything. There's just almost darkness. If the only reason he can see is because he can see in the dark. He looks around and that shouting gets louder. It sounds like it's calling a name. And I should have written down these names because I don't remember what they are. Hold, please. Oh, it's Sorsha. That's right. There's a voice, kind of shrill, high-pitched, calling out for Sorsha. And then he hears another voice. It's nearby, a little off to his left compared to where the first voice is. Also, where the first voice is, also calling for Sorsha. This one's also of what sounds like a feminine timbre, but much deeper in register. He's here on a scouting mission and is not supposed to be found. He's going to try and hide. So let's do a sneak. Not great at this. I need to get above a 16. I got a 4. As Reev looks around, notices a tree, and it doesn't hit him right away how much different this tree looks. He's not really being that aware. He scurries over. He's sloshing through this water, which is much deeper than he remembers it being. And all of a sudden, he just goes splash, falls forward, is like gulping air, splashing around. This water is much deeper than he expected it to be. He thrashes around a bit. What I did not do is open the other character sheets. So let's take care of that. And let's do a detect here for the closest character. Perfect. A few moments of this splashing around, inhaling air, coughing. He's caught up in his own bow. It's kind of like slapping against him. The strings behind his head. Welcome back, Stacy. Thank you so much for rejoining. I'm glad you're enjoying. He's caught up. His like arrows are starting to like float out of his quiver, and they've like gotten caught up in his bow as well. And so it's all just kind of this weird clusterfuck that's wrapped around him. When suddenly a hand grabs him, pulls him out of the water, he starts to like vomit forth vile bog water. It's terrible. And doesn't even care who's pulled him out yet. He just like gets set down. He goes down to his hands and knees and is just like expelling all of this water, coughing it up. He pulls off the quiver, all the arrows kind of scatter around, and it takes him a few moments to realize that there are black leather boots standing just at the side of, like in the periphery on his left side. As his coughing slows, he kind of looks over and glances up and notices a tall human woman, her dark skin almost matching the black leathers that she wears. If he couldn't see in the dark, he likely would miss her. She just kind of blends in with everything the way it is right now. She's leaning on a much larger bow than the one he has, and with her other hand on her hip as she just kind of like stares down at him, there's a smirk and a glint in her eye that makes Reev. Actually, we're gonna do let's see if there's insight, because if there is, I'm gonna roll for that instead. I feel like it's detect because we're going with this perceptive deduction. So Reev has a detect of 6. Got an 18. He definitely knows that she's rather enjoying this spectacle as this goblin makes a fool of himself. There's a screeching voice that calls out, Did you find her? What's going on? And the woman says, no, I didn't find Sorsha, but I found someone else. Do you want to meet me over here? And with that detect, I'm going to also give Reev that he can hear soft footsteps moving forward. He glances up and is a little surprised to see another goblin. This one barefoot, wearing just a vest and like a skirt, and is just swole. Obviously female, obviously ripped. As she moves forward and looks down at him, is obviously also missing her nose. Just this grisly hole in her face as she kind of squinches up her eyes and looks down and takes a big sniff of him.
I don't think I like this guy.
Yeah, you don't really like any guys.
That is true. Yeah, that's true. Should we throw him back in?
No, I spent all of this time pulling him out. Why am I going to throw him back in?
Excuse me, so I'm right in front of you. Can you not talk about me like I'm not here? Oh, he speaks. Great. Why can't we find the ones who don't speak? That's better.
The human kneels down, kind of giggling to herself. You haven't happened to have seen a rather sturdy dwarf wrapped in a lot of metal wandering around?
Dwarf?
Yeah, a dwarf.
I don't know what a dwarf is.
What do you mean you don't know what a dwarf is?
I don't know if there is a language barrier that's happening here.
No, it's like kind of stand up, shake the water off my head, pick up the arrows.
But I don't know what you're saying. Can you explain what this dwarf looks like?
The other goblin picks up a few of my arrows and like throws them just out of reach. Yeah,
a dwarf, you know, in between our heights.
She's gesturing to the human and herself.
But much larger sideways and front to back. And is also just completely wrapped in metal. Yeah, I don't know what that is. You're just talking about like a short person, but taller than you.
Sure, yes. Have you seen a short person, shorter than myself, taller than my friend here, that is wearing a lot of armor and carrying a very large shield?
No, you're the first people I've seen since entering the Fen.
The Fen, yeah. How? I don't know where this is. Can you? We were not anywhere near a swamp, and then this fog rolled in, and now we're here.
Huh. That sounds like a you problem. I've really got stuff to do, and to be honest, we're all kind of making a lot of noise here. I'm trying to be quiet. I'm trying to sneak through this here swamp to get somewhere else that you are not. You know, we could probably just move on without this guy. What do you think?
I mean, he seems to be okay. Are you really sure you want to do that?
Why wouldn't I be sure I want to do that?
I mean, you are by yourself in this swamp. You almost drowned. That's not saying anything about whatever creatures live in here, and who knows?
I mean, I could probably show you the way out. Would you like me to do that?
Yeah, would you mind?
I don't mind. It's... You know what? This one's for free. First one's always free.
There was definitely that moment where Reev was just like, should I charge them? And then he noticed they don't have any stuff. Like, they have their weapons, but it doesn't appear that they had any bags. There are no backpacks or anything like that.
Why are you traveling around in the swamp without your gear? It just seems like a bad idea.
Well, so we weren't. We were actually camping in the forest, and then the fog came up, and now we're here, and our stuff isn't here. Do you happen to know where our stuff would have gone? By whatever magic it is that brought us here.
No. watch you here.
Okay. Well, if you just want to lead us out, that'd be great.
Excellent. You just like kind of, if I fall into water again, usually it's not that deep. If you just fish me out, that'd be great. I'm not great at being submerged.
Sure thing. She kind of covers her mouth a little with her hand to cover her smile. And as Reev attempts to lead them out, I'm going to do we're going to do a survival to see if he can figure out where he's going. So once again, amazing skill here. Only need a 6 or better, or above a 6. I guess that's what we're going for. And I got a 3. Well, it's all right, because whether he knew where he was going or not, he wasn't finding his way out. But what becomes blatantly apparent pretty quickly is he has no idea where he is. There is a moment after several minutes of wandering around where they actually return back to where they were standing around. You can see the churned mud and kind of like dirtied water from where they were standing, and he was pulled out by the woman.
So I think we might, this might take longer than I thought it would. I guess introductions are in order. I'm Reev,
and he holds his hand out. The woman looks down at him. I'm Nio, and she shakes his hand. He looks over at the other goblin, holds his hand out. She sneers at it and looks away. And you can call her Pain.
Pain.
Yes, you can call her Pain.
Okay.
He just kind of glances at her. She is looking off into the dark of the swamp. And he catches her like glance at him very quickly, scowls, and then looks back off. Nio says, so it's getting real hard to see you. Do you have any torches? Any lanterns?
No, I don't really need that. So I didn't bring it. I had a long way to go. I didn't want to like travel with too much stuff. I can light a torch on fire if you need it, but I don't have a torch.
Okay. Let's see if we can find something. And I'm going to do another survival check. Let's do Reeves. So 6 or above a 6. An 11. Excellent. And this is actually where he notices how different the trees are. It was a little difficult right away because the trees in the Fen of Moog are actually being warped by magic anyway. And so they wouldn't appear like a normal pine tree, but these aren't even pine trees. These aren't coniferous whatsoever. And he begins to realize that something is very, very wrong here. But he doesn't say anything, and instead continues to look for materials to make some form of torch. And he does find, essentially, he breaks off a wet piece of wood and then is able to find enough material with what he rolled to create at least, it's going to burn fast, but it'll be something for Nio to be able to see for a bit. And you know what? This is going to be our first progress clock. Why don't we put a... actually didn't load the shorter progress clocks because I hadn't planned on doing this. Hang on one sec. So unlike old D&D, this does use progress clocks, which are kind of a newer thing at least to my own knowledge, of things that are design wise in the 3 or 4, do you think? Yeah, Index Card RPG really leans in on its timers, definitely. That's another one that's super fun to play. I'm a big fan. I think with he rolled well, but he didn't roll great. So we're gonna do a 3-piece progress clock. Oops. Let's drop this down here. Group these. Those in place. There it is. All right, currently empty. When this progress clock fills up, the torch will go out. I see there's talk about a Minecraft. Is this a Minecraft TTRPG, or is it still just a game, like a video game? Yes, many torches when you're doing especially Shadow Dark. I think the one downside is about Shadow Dark and their torch mechanic is you need to limit the amount of torches that your players have. Otherwise, it doesn't feel as like an hour of player time or of real time for it to go out. Is definitely a reason to like get them moving. But if you only play for 3 hours and they have like 3 torches each and there's like 4 of them, that's 12 sessions, or that's 4 sessions that you're going to get through before, you know. The carry slots do definitely limit it. Yeah. All right, so we have our clock going. Reev sparks this torch, hands it up to Nio.
So, where are you from?
Yeah, I guess we can tell you that. You look like a trustworthy person. We're kind of from all over, but we have come this way by way of Baldur's Gate. Do you know where that is?
No, I don't know what a Baldur's Gate is. Do you know like Stormwatch?
No. Is that near here?
Kind of. That's where I came from, but there are mountains between. The mountains, Storm Peak, and all that.
No. Where? What are you talking about? And this banter kind of goes on for a little while as they continue to trudge along. Thanks so much, Dave. Good to see you. I will be raiding in here shortly. Good to see you. Thanks for watching. Okay. So as the 3 of them move through, it becomes pretty apparent that there are various areas that are not like Reev at least expects them to be, whereas Payne and Nio are pretty like on alert anyway, and so they're not really expecting anything, but Reev kind of keeps like almost falling into deeper areas of the water, and it becomes apparent that this swamp is much... Sorry, I'm not really finding the word here. It's definitely much more advanced and flooded than the Phenomoag, which is what he was checking out. He's very concerned about this, and every so often mutters to himself, starts like kind of carving marks on the various trees so that he knows where he's been and where he's going. Not having the suns or any kind of ability to see is not helping him whatsoever. And he notices... Actually, we're gonna do a roll off to see who notices it. All right, so our detect is a 6 for Reev. He had an 8. Not a great success, but still made it. Nio, let's back that off a little so you can see it. Detect is a 12. Rolled exactly a 12, so also not a great success, but still... Oh, actually, for now, at least, we decided that Meat does not make it. So we're going to go with Beat. Does not notice. And then we will have Pain do a quick roll. Pain's detect is even worse at a 14. And got a 7. So off in the distance, out of the torchlight, which is just kind of, you know, when it's super snowy out and you turn on your brights, or if you've been in fog and turned on bright light, it doesn't actually help to have that bright light. It just makes everything murkier. And so he's kind of walking ahead at the edge of this light, whereas Nio is using the light in order to see where she's stepping and all of this. And he notices off in the dark, there's something floating on the water. And I'm going to have him do a reflex check to see if he notices the water before he falls into it again. So he needs above an 11. No, that's Pain. Sorry, hang on one sec. Yep, also above an 11 for Reev. 13, perfect. Just notices it as he puts his foot down that his foot is going to continue falling forward if he doesn't stop. So he windmills his arms for a moment, and then leans back. Nio reaches that forward and grabs his like quiver and holds him there for a moment.
Thanks. There's something over there. It looks... I think it's a boat.
She squints in the darkness. I don't see it. Pain comes forward and looks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're gonna have to swim to get there, though. Do we have to?
She doesn't, like, she's essentially wearing just like a vest and a skirt, no shoes, nothing else. She has like her hair does have a red tie in it. She just jumps in the water and begins swimming forward. Nio shrugs. She unstrings her bow, like wraps up the cord, puts it in a pocket, seals the pocket, and like straps or sticks the bow between her shoulder blades and the quiver on her back, and begins to like submerge herself, kind of not doggy paddling, but not swimming nearly as well as Pain does. Yeah, Reev is just kind of standing there.
Do we have to? Could you come back and get me?
He notices as Pain stops, turns around, flips him off, and then begins swimming back towards the boat. He can see her vaguely. It's so far away that it's kind of at the edge of his vision. He can see her get up on what might be land instead of the boat, and then walks over to the boat. She kind of like kicks it. He sees it like flop a little in the water, and then she steps lightly onto it. He can hear them talking quietly. Let's see if he can make out what they're saying. With that 12, he can. He hears her say, "We could just row away. There's a pole. It's like a skiff or something. I think it's okay." We could, but wouldn't that be rude? I don't think so. Yes, that would be rude, Payne. And what exactly does he have that we need? Well, he does have food. He has food? Yes. Didn't you notice? No, I was actually watching to see if he fell in the water again. I was just kind of waiting for it. Okay. Let's just, for now, until we figure out where we are, let's just accept that this guy is going to help us out. I know you're not a fan. You don't need to be. That's okay. Maybe he'll end up surprising you. And in the worst case, she kind of glances back and then kind of whispers so quietly that Reev can't hear. And then he notices as they get on the skiff and begin kind of pushing it off with the pole. However, as they do so, I need to just double check something. A 12 and a 14 for detects. Fail. And fail. Okay. So they push off, slowly guiding the skiff back towards where Reev stands. There was a couple of times where he stuck his foot in the water, almost like he was gonna maybe think about getting in, but no, they're coming back. He'll wait. My dice roll like yours. Yeah. As just a history of the channel, if there's anything I ever need to do as a character, it usually fails. Especially if it's important. Okay. The skiff bumps up against the more solid area that Reev is standing on. It's not quite deep enough. There's like water that he's in, but it's like not even covering his feet. And so it's definitely not quite enough for the skiff to kind of push up onto. He takes a moment, almost hesitates, and then goes ahead and jumps forward. There's a moment where Payne almost like pushed the skiff back, a smirk on her face, when Nio, like, she caught Nio looking at her with like a glare, and she just kind of like smiles innocently, which, looking down at her, Nio sees, actually, sorry, I said I wasn't going to do their points of view. Even as a goblin, Reev is a little put off by the way that Payne looks. Like, her teeth are gnarly, and it seems like maybe they're filed to points. And there's just still the fact that her nose is missing, and it looks like it was chewed off. Like, it was not a clean removal. He just kind of shudders a little because her smile is scary. But they all come to rest on this skiff. He sets his things down. So, I take it you guys are maybe a little hungry? We're going to call that a one tick of the torch clock, by the way. Yeah, it's been a bit since we've been wandering around. And we hadn't eaten since midday. I don't even know what time it is here. We were getting ready. We were lighting our fire and getting ready to make things, and all of our stuff appears to be gone. Do you mind sharing?
So I don't really have a whole bunch, just to warn you, but I can, I can give you enough for tonight, and we'll see what tomorrow brings. We might have to do some foraging or something.
Well, it's greatly appreciated. Is that right? Right, Payne. Payne like reaches forward and somewhat gently, not like doesn't rip the rations out of Reev's hands, but maybe a little aggressively takes it, begins like chewing on it, and just kind of like stares at him. Doesn't say anything.
Okay. Here, while you two eat, I'm gonna go ahead and continue pushing.
And he begins to guide the skiff. About an hour goes by. We're going to go ahead and click off another timer. The torch is starting to gutter a little bit. Won't go for a whole bunch of time longer. Speaking is difficult. When these like weird, almost moaning noises begin to sound off in the swamp, and it takes them a moment listening to realize that it sounds like frogs or toads, but they're really deep and maybe like a little distorted by the fog and stuff that's in like the landscape and all that, but it's kind of hard to tell where they're coming from. And
so just so you know, the fen can produce some really weird wildlife, things that aren't normal. Let's just kind of keep your weapons nearby.
And he like kind of reaches down, picks up his bow, and he's like leaning on his bow while he tries to like push with the other hand. Why don't you let me take care of that? And Niall walks over, takes the pole from him, and begins to kind of guide. If you could just tell me where I'm going, because I can't see anything beyond this. Payne goes and sits on like the front, dangles her feet in the water. Flies and various insects are flying around them, being disturbed by their passage, especially as she's like kind of kicking in the water. Yeah, scare them off. That's a good plan. Yeah, okay, we'll go with that. Reev looks up at Nio.
Could we just throw her in the water?
She does hide a small grin behind her hand, but there is that glint of laughter in her eye. And I think trying to time this because I don't want to go over too far so that we can raid in the beginning of the Guild Superior show. However, I think we're going to have a small combat here real quick, because as they are watching, some logs nearby begin to move about. And immediately, Payne is like up and like staring at it. And she doesn't say anything. She just like makes a gesture at Nio and then points at it. And Nio looks off in that direction. And she shrugs Reev looks over there. Above a 6, above a 6, above a 6. 10! Yes. And he sees what looks like a log, but it's moving. And then it becomes very apparent as it comes closer. It's actually a large lizard of some sort, kind of like a crocodile. It's long, reptilian head and maw, kind of snapping quietly, and its teeth make it so its mouth can't quite fully close, like they're kind of twisted and gnarled, and it begins to speed towards them. Pain is the closest, so as it lunges, she has to make the choice of either doing... So here's an interesting thing about the system. When in battle, bad guys always succeed unless the character does something to stop it. So if you don't try to dodge out of the way, then you're going to get hit, essentially. Like, just automatically. If you as a character are attacking something, you don't automatically hit. You do have to roll to do so. Let me just double check our rules here, because I don't want to misspeak here. All right, so when you're defending, I'm going to clear my dice rolls so that you can all see clearly. When you're defending, you can either block or dodge. Block is an endure save, which is hindered if it is a ranged attack. This is not. It's going to be a close attack, a melee attack. Or you dodge, which is a reflex save, which is hindered if you are wearing heavy armor. If the save passes, you ignore one of the attack's highest roll damage dice. So again, it automatically hits you. However, if the creature rolls only one die, and we're going to look at this, in future episodes, I'm not going to show all of the stat blocks, but for this, we will take a look just so you can all see exactly what we're doing. And of course, it's a bookmark, so it shrunk it down. There we go. All right, we have our alligator or crocodile. When it does damage, it does 1d8. So in this example, this is a great one because it's not rolling multiple dice. If Pain succeeds in this dodge, which is going to be her reflex, then she ignores one damage die, which there's only one damage die here. So even though they always technically hit, you can successfully dodge all damage. I hope that makes sense. All right, so in order to dodge, Pain has to roll. She's doing a reflex. She has to roll above an 11. Natural 20. Owned it. She's not wearing the heavy armor, so there's no penalty to that. She dodges out of the way easily. The skiff raises up in the back as the front kind of gets pushed down by this creature, throwing itself up on there. It begins to slide back. Pain is going to punch it in the face. So here she's going to do a brawl. She needs to make a roll of an 8 or above. Oh my god, she got a 1. That's horrid. Oh no. 20 discount version. Yay! All right, so as the skiff rocks back down, she stumbles, her swing going wide. What Reeve notices is that on her fists, she's slipped these. They're not gauntlets, but more just like wraps that have like spikes on a pad at the end of them. She swings, misses completely. The pole clatters to the top of the skiff as Nio stands up. The sound of her bow string, which she restringed, by the way. I didn't say it, but I'm not going to be that kind of self GM that is like, well, I didn't say it, so it didn't happen. She did restring it while they were after they got on the ship, and she's going to take a shot at this. So she needs to do, she's doing a ranged, above a 12. A 4. The rocking of the ship, of the skiff, throws her off as the crocodile hits it again. She stumbles. The arrow goes sailing off into the dark. Reeve, it's up to you. What will happen? Reeve can either short sword it or longbow it. He's not in close range, so he's feeling pretty good about this longbow too. He needs a above a 6. 15. There we go. All right. The longbow does D8. So it does 5 damage to our crocodile. Let's see how many hit points the crocodile has. 13. So it bites in between its chitinous kind of top side and sticks in its flesh. There's this like guttural as it like kind of swings its head towards the offending arrow, and then it slaps itself back down on the skiff. I am going to make it do a... No, it goes back under the water. As it goes under the water water around kind of like is churning for a moment, and then the skiff just kind of begins to float. It's tilting somewhat sideways. It's a little off kilter from how it was. Maybe there's some damage to it that the crocodile did. The trio are looking in the water, but they're not at the edges of the boat, as everyone kind of is standing back, waiting, watching for this creature to reappear. And then it's going to hit the boat, and I'm going to have them all make a... I feel like this is a reflex save. So let's start with Reeve. He needs to make an 11. Anyone who fails is going in the water. Reeve made it, got 14. Nio needs above a 9. Got a 16. Great. All right, Payne. Let's see. Needs above an 11. Oh, it had to happen, didn't it? As Payne is like looking, she's like hunched down, and she overextends just a little bit as the crocodile hits. She smashes to the floor of the skiff and just slides off. She's airborne for just a moment as she looks back and like is starting to reach her hand out for Nio, and then there's just a splash. She doesn't sink immediately, but because she put these gauntlets on her hand, it is a little harder for her to swim. And the crocodile is going to take an attack. She is going to, we're going to use her we're going to do it differently. She doesn't really see it coming, but when it comes up and tries and bites her, she's going to try and endure it. So essentially like stave off the damage in some way. Let's see what she rolls first. She needs above an 8. And she got a 12. Again, if you succeed, you ignore one of the damage dice, because this is only rolling one damage dice. She manages to completely butt away, protects herself from the damage. She like pushes the crocodile's face right to the last moment, and it swims off, kind of starting to circle around her. It is her turn. If she were Reev, she would like, Reev is like, okay, get on the ship, come back. And he's like gesturing to her. And she yells some curse that he is she completely unaware of. He's not really sure what language that even was. As she swims forward and tries to punch this crocodile in the face. Ooh, she got a 9 with her brawl. She made it. Yeah, so she just beat her brawl, so it's a D4. Excuse me. That's 1 whole damage. So we've taken 6 away total from the, let me double check. I believe it's 13. Yep, 13. So we have 7 left. Nio says something about the gods preserve her or something. She doesn't really know, or Reev doesn't really understand the reference, and then tries to shoot one more time. She needs above 12. Got an 11. An 11. Oh. The arrow like dinks off of the crocodile's scales and sails into the dark. Nio curses again, and Reev is going to try and shoot it also. Oh my gosh. His hands are all wet. It's slippery. He like goes to shoot and it just slips completely and shoots off to the left by far. The crocodile swimming around. TPK. The crocodile swims around and roaring lunges once again at Pain. Pain's going to try and... We're going to do Endure again. It's just what she's better at. 17 easily. The crocodile's mouth chomps down on her, and she actually just like raises her hands up, grabs the jaw, and is like currently holding it open as the crocodile's like trying to fight against her. Doesn't do any damage, and she is going to she puts her foot down in like against its tongue and like forces the crocodile's mouth open. I am going to give her favor on this. She's going to roll a d20 plus a d6. For 23. She didn't even need the favor, but she got against her 8 for brawl. And d4 for her damage. Got a 4 this time. Excellent. So that should put us at... I think it has 2 points left. I should have marked this. But we're going with 2 points. Nio cheers, and there's the creaking of her bow again. That'll do it. Nice. With 6? Yeah. Yeah, 6 points. The arrow lodges in the crocodile's eye. It spasms for a moment. The one eye that Pain can still see kind of rolls up slightly, and then the whole thing goes limp, starts to sink into the water. Pain quickly like lets go, pushes off, and begins to swim rapidly back to the skiff. When she gets there, Reev is waiting, his hand extended out. Nio almost beat him to the edge to help her up, but she was still like coming down off of the moment of killing the crocodile, and Reev stands there with his hand out to this goblin woman that's in the water. She glares at him. I'm going to roll a d12. If it's odd, she's going to take his hand. If it's even, she swims around and climbs up herself. Odd. With a like sigh of resentment, she reaches up. It's a little weird for Reev to grab her hand with these like weird pads on, and there's like these, he notices there's like these maybe blood stained spikes that stick out of the ends of him. He just kind of like, ugh, and pulls her on. She actually weighs quite a bit more than he does. He almost gets pulled into the water by her. You know, so much so, we're going to roll for it. Let's do we're going to call it a brawl check because it's physical prowess and brute force. So he needs to roll above a 15. Just missed it. With a little bit of a glint in her eye, maybe this is why she decided to take his hand. She just like lets him take all of her weight, and then as he starts to tilt forward, the look of surprise growing on his face, she just flips him over her head. And by the time he hits the water, she has like launched herself up and lands gracefully on the deck of this skiff. There's once again the sputtering of this goblin and this kind of sigh as Nio moves forward. She gets the pole. She like reaches it out. Take the end. Stop flailing. Stop flailing. Just take the end of this pole. You're going to drown. Okay. Good job. And she begins to like pull him back towards the boat. And with that, we're going to call one, that torch goes out. So let's make sure to mark that. And as that torch gutters out, laying on the top of this skiff, and the night envelops them once again, our group has officially had their first encounter in a realm they have no idea about, and still are not even totally comprehending that they're not where they were to begin with. I am looking forward to, one, having a mini next week for Reev as we continue to dive into this adventure, but also seeing if they find their missing dwarf, Sorsha, and seeing what else might be waiting for them as this adventure unfolds. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Bravo, thank you, Ty. I appreciate it. I'm so looking forward to seeing the new Varden series that's unfolding over on Folk and Myth, by the way. I need to catch the rest of that. I only caught the beginning of it last night, but I'm looking forward to the on demand. Thanks, Stacy. I appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you had fun. Thanks, Raven. Loving that you're loving it. Very happy about that. We're going to raid over to Guild Superior, but before we do, one more time, this is Solo Sagas. Right now we are playing Vagabond by Land of the Blind. You can head over to DriveThruRPG using that affiliate link that I really appreciated if you use over on the chat. If you were watching on YouTube, it'll be down in the show notes. And also, if you are on YouTube right now watching this, or if you want to head over there from Twitch, you can head over to Wanderer's Haven on YouTube. Click that subscribe button. It's free, doesn't cost you a thing, helps us out greatly. If you aren't following here on Twitch, also please hit that follow button. What else? Oh yeah, there's some socials. So you can check out our socials. It's WH Pubs everywhere except for here and on YouTube. But the Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, WH Pubs, wanted to keep it short for all that. And then we made it very clear that this was the Wanderer's Haven channel. No confusion. All right, thanks everybody for tuning in. Much appreciated. We will see you next Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you hang out for the raid over to Guild Superior. Except for I have to put it in the raid correctly. I'm going to say goodbye as I do that. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, everybody.